Marhaba and welcome to Free Palestine Pod, the podcast. I'm Lama Bazzari.
And I'm Lina Hadi. Each week, we will bring you in-depth commentary from Palestine.
Let's talk Palestine. Welcome, everyone. We're honored to have Hani Al Madhoun, Director of Philanthropy at UNRWA USA, with us today to discuss UNRWA's Gaza relief efforts. Before we start, be sure to visit www.unrwausa.org to support UNRWA's crucial Gaza relief efforts. Marhaba, Hani.
أهلين. Hi, Lina. Hi, Lama.
Hello.
Can you provide us an update on UNRWA's on-the-ground relief efforts and the current situation?
Yeah, absolutely. There is a lot of confusion. There is a lot of angry people. Obviously, the aid is not getting in enough. Drop in the bucket. 20 trucks. Yesterday, 0 trucks got into Gaza, by the way. So people are not okay. And some of this aid, it's getting very slow to get in. Obviously, the Israelis are checking everything and making it a lot more difficult. I could elaborate on this more. Some of the aid is not relevant or something Gaza needs. Gaza received corona tests, for example, part of the medical aid. I'm like, well, this is important. That's not what's needed right now. So there is a lot of upset. Don't get me wrong. We're grateful to see this work go with the humanitarian relief, but UNRWA is the main logistical partner for all this. All these items that get into Gaza, wherever they go through UNRWA facilities, they get processed, and then they get distributed to where they need to go, whether if it's a hospital or a food warehouse. Mind you, it's never enough. People are frustrated, so they may be frustrated at UNRWA sometimes, but remember 59 of our colleagues in UNRWA are killed in this campaign. 42 plus buildings were bombed for UNRWA, and people just, people are upset and they can't, they think like UNRWA has an army or something to go defend them. We have right now as peak 5,300 Palestinian staff for UNRWA working with the Palestine refugees. Nobody else has this kind of staff working in shelters. And it's not enough. Don't get me wrong. Like my family is north, they're not getting anything. All the relief efforts are focused in Gaza, in the southern area and the middle area. But and the logistical support center is in Deir al-Balah, which is closer to the middle area. That's UNRWA's warehouses, and we're looking at 640,000. Get this, 640,000 Palestine refugees are housed in 150 facilities for UNRWA. These could be schools, this could be training center, this could be a warehouse, this could be an installation. And, we're trying to support as much we can, but it's not enough. You're overcrowded places. Some of these centers are at 3 times the capacity. So if the center was supposed to accommodate 5,000 people, now there is 15,000 people there. A lot of issues with mental health, trauma, psychology. I know that my people in Gaza, the Palestinians, are very resilient, but we have to recognize that comes at cost. You see mothers bleeding their faces and trying to protect their babies. Real stories, real people we know, we care for, and we want to change that. This is hell on earth, and so.
Hani, I understand that you actually lived in Gaza during the first Intifada. And I was wondering if you could perhaps shed some light on the difference between Gaza during the first Intifada and Gaza today during this massive genocide.
Yes, so actually we just came out of Gaza 7 weeks prior to this attacks on Gaza. So our girls spent the summer there. They had a good time. They learned dabke. They've learned some Palestinian music. They did some horseback riding. They swam in the beach. We just had, Gaza was always, 70% of the people are under the poverty line. I do want to give the idea that Gaza was such a blast. It was always a problem for, the people who live there because of the siege and various policies. But still, if you have some friends, or if you have some money, you could see a beautiful side of Gaza because people try to create life. So many people of Gaza can't leave Gaza, so they bring the world into Gaza as much as they can. Now, sadly, all those places are erased. The people we used to hang out with, pop stars in Gaza. They're crying and doing prayer like they're an imam of a masjid. This is demoralizing because the people really deserve better. We're talking about 8,000 people dead. At least 3,000 of them are children. I'm sure like the number changed by the time I quoted it. So there is a lot of trauma. It's during the first Intifada. We, believe it or not, I was born actually in Khorfakan, in the UAE, and then we moved after the first Gulf War to Gaza, and then it was an adjustment, right? You're going to the first round of Intifada. There is shooting, military vehicles and rallies and that, but there's never like this massive destructions of what is it like. 13 tons or 13,000 tons of bombs on Gaza, equivalent of a Hiroshima bomb. So this is the largest scale that Gaza has been living through since 2007. And, in the various military campaigns. And sadly, the people in Gaza feel abandoned right now. I know that we love them, we care for them, but there's very few things we can do to help. Obviously, one of that is to support through UNRWA USA and the various UN agencies. Don't get me wrong, I love a lot of those charities that work in Gaza. Everybody now is frozen in their track. They try to buy stuff from the local market, but that worked for the first 2 weeks. There is really not much left in the local market to buy. So the thing about UNRWA is they bring in stuff through our network. And I get there is frustrations, there is all that, but we were asking from day one, bring 100 trucks into Gaza, and that's not happening yet. We're reading unconfirmed reports that the numbers of trucks allowed a day would be increased, but that's not enough. The people don't even have their dignities. We're talking about hygiene kits for people. Can you imagine 400 people sharing a toilet? And that's even if they could find one. And we're talking about people drinking 95% of the people in Gaza drinking airborne water with diseases. So there is a lot of those issues that we have to deal with. And keep in mind, the kids in Gaza, the Palestinian kids in Gaza, have not gone to school in 3 weeks. And not just that, I was reading the statistics from the Ministry of Education. 2,000 students were killed as a result of this campaign. 79 staff, teachers, and educators were killed in this campaign. And I don't think we're done yet. And I just, I remember Gaza is a beautiful place where people have solidarity and they view themselves as Palestinians. I hate the narrative where they say Gazans. No, we're not Gazans. We're Palestinians in Gaza. Despite, and you think this attack on Gaza is on Gaza? No, they're attacking every single Palestinian. They want to teach us that we are defeated people. And every generation, they like to do this. And inshallah, Gaza will see better days. I pray for the safety of my family, obviously, my colleagues at UNRWA. And I know that people have been supportive, have been generous, and there is many ways we can support. I could elaborate more on that. So, Lena?
With northern Gaza being bombed considerably more, especially in the last few days, I mean, they've bombed all across the Strip. What is the current situation in northern Gaza? And you say that your family is in northern Gaza. In which area are they in? And what's the current situation, if you can give us any updates?
Yeah, my family, actually, I told the U.S. government, White House, State Department, Congress, where my family is. They are in an area called Mashru' Beit Lahia, which is up north. They are the reason, there's a number of reasons why they did not leave. Because, my mother, when she hears evacuation, she thinks immediately ethnic cleansing. She remembers the days of her parents being evacuated from Ashkelon for their safety, Asqalan. And now they've never been allowed back. So there is a lot of trauma there. For them, actually, it came to logistics. One is there is 20 family members, lots of kids. They know the lay of the land where they are. They know their neighbors. They know the good people, the bad people, everybody, right? So if you go to Khan Yunis, a whole new area for you, you don't know what the lay of land is. You don't know who's doing what, by what area. You might be in the wrong place. They don't have any residential house up in those areas, so they would have to be probably sleeping in public. So what they decided, and then remember, there is no fuel. There in Gaza, very little fuel, and transportation has been, even if available, very, very cost prohibitive. Obviously, people can go to the ATMs to get money. So, while I help my family as much as I can, everything, is frozen. Nobody's doing anything there by the way of bank. There is little activities happening. So the bombs are falling everywhere. There is, I have a call from my friend Ahid Al-Ajrami, for example, he lived north. They called him up and they said, hey, go south like a good boy. He went. And then the next day he was dead. They bombed the area where he was. Now, the Hamouda brothers, they're also neighbors. They went from Beit Lahia to Rafah only to be killed there. So death is all the same. And, people are dying in Khan Yunis in south, in Rafah, and Beit Lahia, and Beit Hanun. So my mom is just telling everybody, they have to be there together. And believe it or not, it's very dark, but they sleep all in a living room together, like not even in bedrooms because there might be a window or something like that. And everybody's sitting there next to each other. They're trying to survive. They ate all kinds of pasta in the last 3 weeks, but they are not feeling that they have enough water. And mind you, it has gotten worse where people can't even call a hospital anymore. The ambulances are not functioning. When people get bombed, they try to take whoever they can save on a cart, an animal cart, to get it to the hospital. And especially the hospital closest to my family now, it's the Indonesian hospital, is gone dark for a few hours a few days ago. So fuel is running low. They're bombing all by the hospitals. We've heard about the Ma'madani hospital that was bombed. So far, it became a blame game. In a few probably weeks, we will know who did it, but it doesn't matter. It's going to be too late. They sold that story. And the hospital is closest to my own apartment in Gaza. You've heard about Tel El Hawa. That's where I own an apartment. I have no idea if the apartment's still standing. Mashi, we lost Haram, we lost this building, Mashi, but the people are not coming back. We could rebuild again, but those people are not coming back. And the Quds hospital is being bombed. That's literally like a block and a half from my apartment. So you can imagine if the hospital is not safe, if the journalists are not safe, if people with UN vests are not safe, who do you think is?
Unfortunately, absolutely no one. Those statistics that you just shared with us are, I mean, it's beyond heartbreaking. I don't really know how any person of reasonable consciousness could even, not call for a ceasefire at this very moment. One question that a lot of people ask us is where is the money going and how does the money from UNRWA, for example, get into Gaza? Not only now, but for the last 16 years with this Israeli blockade. How are we getting any sort of supplies to the people? You, that is.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So, just in transparency, UNRWA USA has been actively engaged with our community here in the US and globally with few influencers. We have transferred to UNRWA's account about $6 million since the October 7th. And those money is now paying for salaries for staff. I mentioned, they may not be able to collect the money now because of the situation with the ATMs. But not only that, you're paying for water. We're paying premium to get people to drink. We're trying to, provide for them and distribute. Obviously, fuel is very expensive now, but it's not available as much. So a lot of that is going into the programs. UNRWA has 13,000 staff inside Gaza. Right now, we have 8 clinics running. So those clinics, require resources, require electricity, they require supplies. Some of it is available, some of it not. Again, whatever UNRWA was doing is saving lives, but I assure you it's not enough. And we've said that in record. Sadly, not too many people are able to help. There is room for everybody. I swear, we need 50, we need 100 organizations, 200 to help in Gaza. Right now, sadly, a lot of those people are not able to help because, some of them are positioning themselves at the borders of Egypt, bringing things in. But, that's not happening fast enough. And, inshallah, things will change. UNRWA remains the largest humanitarian actor inside Gaza and working in hand with places like World Health Organization, World Food Program. And because folks trust the UN agencies, they're able to bring this relief. All parties, despite all the politics, everybody says, okay, we know the UN vets and approves everything. So nothing going to be misused or misplaced. So, and tragically, it's not happening fast enough. You may have heard reports about Palestinians breaking into the warehouses and grabbing things. While I don't like that, it's sort of almost judgment day right now in Gaza. I can't, you can't people to tell them behave when they're seeing kids and body parts and entire families collected in a bag and then buried because there is no time to do proper burial. And It's another thing. My mom doesn't want to go south because they say if anything happens to us, at least people know us and they could bury us properly. If we go there in the south, they may just put us in an anonymous spot and then khalas, that's it. So horrifying times, we're responding, but it's not enough. Ideally we need to get to 100 trucks a day. And we're not even talking about rebuilding. You've seen 50% of all units in Gaza are gone. Where are people going to live? Think about that. There is a lot of problems. There is a lot of lack of humanity. We're arguing here with the U.S. government, like, hey, we're not telling them give economic independence. We're not saying the right to vote. We're just saying don't kill us. And somehow that seems controversial.
And with winter around the corner, I mean, that's going to impact people significantly. How are they going to be able to manage that? There's going to be a huge amount of diseases and critical health problems.
Yeah, absolutely correct. We're concerned about flooding. A lot of infrastructure in Gaza is missing. Now we're talking about sewage flowing in the streets because the Israelis bombed everything more than once already. So there is a lot of fear, plus also, overcrowding. Corona is serious. It's a real thing. And, people have cold. So there is a lot of health issues that we have to tend to. So now on the brighter side, I mentioned the 8 clinics that are working still with UNRWA. There is 22 health clinics, only 8 of them are functioning. They're still seeing patients. I think the last number I've seen 5,000 visits for things like that. But again, imagine somebody in a school of 10,000 people gets a cold, then you're making it even more complicated, especially if they're elder. And not only that, Lama, I assure you, if they cut the fuel, the electricity, I have an uncle who's doing dialysis. That's a death sentence for this guy. How is he going to stay alive if he doesn't get the dialysis? We've seen images of kids in incubators as early as this morning. Alhamdulillah, they saved the life of a baby inside the womb of his mother. She was seriously hurt, and the baby just was put in an incubator this morning. And it's a lot. We're sort of forgetting our humanity. And a lot of us, obviously, those who see it and want to change it are unable to, and those who have the power to change it are not speaking out. And in fact, they might be plotting against the people of Gaza or even dismissing them. Somebody put some video side by side how they talked about the attacks and the hospitals in Ukraine versus Gaza, and it shows the hypocrisy there. And I'll stop there.
I mean, I definitely agree that there is somebody who would like this what I would call the world's largest concentration camp abolished. I mean, we know heads of states that have called for it, and ministers and leaders. So there's definitely something happening that is way beyond us, and there's the idea that we are just collateral damage, unfortunately, in this very horrific situation. But Hani, we need to have a call and appel, as we say in French. We need to have a call to the people in the Palestinians and the people who support the Palestinians in the diaspora. And as you said, you are the largest nonprofit that is on the ground inside Gaza. So clearly, you would be the right vehicle to to get the money to and the aid to and the support to at this moment in time. And we would just, if you could help Lama and I, so that, if you could give us a call, to everyone in the diaspora and everyone that supports the Palestinian cause, and explain to them why they really should be donating any funds that they have. Just the 7 million Palestinians outside of Palestine alone could do so much. And then all those that support the Palestinians could also do so much. And this is very much a time of crisis. And we look at how much was earned in a very short period of time for the Ukraine, $114 billion. And we're listening to your figures, which, all due respect, so happy that you've been able to raise that much, but a few $1 million is clearly not going to make a difference when everything you've discussed, from the destruction of 50% of the housing, God, Allah knows how many human beings, human civilians, have been killed, how many Palestinians have been killed to date. 10,000 is a number, but everyone is guessing much more considering what's under the rubble. With all of this going on, please, what can we say to everyone to convince them to support UNRWA and that this is really a serious time in crisis?
Yeah, well, thank you. You're correct. I mean, there is never an amount of money that's going to make this okay. Can you imagine the generations of people who are going to deal with this for the rest of their lives and what memories they will pass to their children? It's a lot. You see kids, babies, and, people unborn, they're damaged by this. And all of a sudden, we're being vilified in the media and told this is your own doing. Now, I am one of those Palestinians who live outside. Some of the things, obviously, I want everybody to respect whatever local laws they have and just operate within those regulations. UNRWA works in many fields. Obviously, the Gaza area is the most important one right now. Nobody is disputing that. If you want to support, there is a few ideas we're working with. So if you go to UNRWA USA.org, you could make a gift there. You could do PayPal. You could do whatever you need to there. One of the really closest initiatives we have to my heart is Gather to Gaza, which is a peer-to-peer campaign. So you could do like, hey, I'm going to do a vigil for Gaza and I'm going to fundraise for UNRWA USA, or I'm going to do, I don't feel it's my birthday. I don't feel like celebrating it, but I'm going to tell people to support so people can create a page for whatever, maybe they have a cooking show. You've seen amazing people like Abu Julia. You've seen our hero, Mu'taz Azaiza, who's a good friend and a brave soul who's been telling the story. Join our forces. I want to just remind people donation is one approach. It's my favorite approach, but I was keeping myself busy. I mentioned I took meetings around the US government, talked to them, tried to reason with them as much as I can. We protested a lot of the actions of the US government. We were inside the house the next day and outside the other State Department the same way. So whatever laws, respect it, but also voice your concern. Some people write to the media. I encourage that. I have done a bit of that myself. Speak out if you can. And in your work, I've seen Palestinian technologists reach out. Hey, I want to get eSIM cards to Gaza. I want to figure out how to solve the doxing of students. There is a lot of multi-fronted battle we're fighting, and as Palestinians, we have to come together. I love all my Arab and Muslim siblings, and everybody who's joining us in this fight. This is really, the Palestinians have to step up for each other because we have many allies, but ultimately we're the ones who have families being killed, murdered. And I know that people sometimes pray for us and worry for us. I welcome that. So these are some of the ideas I welcome people to engage with. They can find me in LinkedIn. They can find me in Facebook and respond. But, just stay engaged, speak out as much as you can and support financially if you have the means. If you don't, just keep people in your thoughts and, we'll be there. We'll do what we can. Are we going to fix this with money? No, but we're going to try to make sure that people have the resources they need to continue in their lives and children to have as normal life as it can. One of the last things we focus on also mental health. We have a big mental health program in Gaza that works in schools. We may have to hire a lot of people to deal with the trauma that kids have to deal with. But UNRWA continues to really emphasize this in addition to food, in addition to education and health, the mental health and the well-being of the Palestine refugees. So thank you for having me here. And, if you have any other questions, let me know.
Hani, are you able to communicate with your team on the ground? Is there any updates in regards to that?
Yeah, no, not really. So the UNRWA today issued a statement. The reason we could not get trucks in yesterday because we couldn't coordinate with anybody. So that's affecting our staff. That's why people have broken into the warehouses, for example, because we couldn't talk to our team. And, soon enough, they don't have fuel. They may already not have fuel to move things around. So it is a crisis. We're being disrupted. Now there is talk about getting Starlink or things like that. But partially, it seems the Israeli authorities have turned on the internet. They're playing a PR game, right? They turn off all the water. They give us like maybe 10% back and say, oh, we gave him some water. So they're trying to do evil, but a little PR thing. So it's where, again, it is a multifaceted battle. And I hope people just get that and not just think, like we're not the answer. UNRWA was not the answer. We're trying to help the refugees. This is our mandate. But ultimately, this is such a mess. Our own staff are being killed. Our buildings are being bombed. We do good work. I'm proud of the work we're doing. But again, we're just like the Palestinian people. We're not, all these buildings that they bombed the Israelis, they had the coordinates too. And they bombed them. So that tells you how we feel right now.
Atrocious. Listen, I want to thank you so much, Hani, for coming on the show with us. And again, I want to encourage everyone to at least get on the UNRWA website. It's www.unrwausa.org. And it would be wonderful if everyone could just take a look and even contribute in any way, shape, or form. Thank you again, Hani. And, God bless your family. We're all praying for them and for every single Palestinian in occupied Palestine today.
Thank you,
Dina and
Hani.
Lama, thank you for having me. I wish next time we talk, we have better circumstances and talk about how we can support our people. So I appreciate you so much.
Thank you for joining us this week on Free Palestine Pod. Subscribe, like, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts, and follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter.
And be sure to come back next week for a new episode of Free Palestine Pod. Let's talk Palestine.